As a parent, should I provide Narcan to my college student in case she's confronted by a OD?
Yes. And again, it's not just necessarily their overdose, but it might be somebody else in their dorm and they could save a life.
What is considered a lethal dose and how can you die from it?
Lethal doses of fentanyl vary from person to person because some people may have a tolerance to opioids, others may have no tolerance at all. Um, we should presume that the amount of fentanyl in any counterfeit pill that somebody is about to use is potentially lethal.
When will Narcan be available over the counter?
We were expecting it right about now. It seems that there are some delays from the drug manufacturer. I'm anticipating that we should see it. I'm hoping October of 2023.
Okay. Have you had a parent deny their child fentanyl emergent for severe bone fracture?
Sure, absolutely. There are a lot of people who come into emergency departments, have a severe injury like a bone fracture, and say, "I don't want opioids," because they've heard about the national opioid overdose crisis, and say, "I don't want that." Um, I'll say this: opioids are safe when prescribed by doctors in appropriate quantities for appropriate periods of time, and typically don't carry risk for addiction for small amounts of time in small quantities.
Okay. Son's 15-year-old BFF OD'd in December and has had no follow-up care post-hospitalization resources. So we're just looking for resources not only for those who have recovered, but those who have friends and family and loved ones who have been impacted.
Yeah, the tragic truth of our healthcare system is that finding treatment for someone who has either overdosed or is struggling with addiction is really limited. I would start with your doctor. Doctors often have solutions. To the extent that they don't, there's also a national treatment database called the Treatment Locator. And so if you go to findtreatment.gov, it's a Google search or Google Map search engine driven platform where you can put in the types of treatment that you're looking for, the age of the person that you're looking for treatment for, put in your address, and then see what resources are in your area.
As a parent, how do you recommend I talk to my child about this to support them and keep them safe?
Yeah, I think we all need to send the message that counterfeit pills and substance use is not safe, right? And counterfeit pills in particular can kill you, and that we recommend that young people don't use them, and more broadly speaking, don't use substances or at least minimize their substance use. At the same time, we should send the message that we want to make sure that to the extent that somebody does, that they do so safe, and so to do so safely, I would really recommend parents talk to their teens, to their young adults about making sure that they don't use alone, that other people don't use alone, to make sure that there's someone to call 911, that they do call 911, and that they administer naloxone or Narcan in the case that somebody does overdose. So you
Right.
have to send those two messages at the same time.
What do people think they're buying when they end up with a fentanyl laced pill?
It depends. In some cases, people knowingly seek out counterfeit pills. I think this happens more among adults who might use more heavily. They may actually be purposefully seeking out fentanyl, knowing that it's potent, and they may be struggling with addiction, and that's the opioid that they're looking for as part of their addiction. In young people, what's often happening is that they think that they're buying something else, right? They think that they're buying an oxycodone or OxyContin tablet, which are painkillers, or they think that they're buying Xanax, which is an anti-anxiety medication. And so if you're struggling with pain or anxiety or depression, you might turn to one of these pills thinking that you're getting some form of treatment, but you're not, you're getting fentanyl.
Someone has a question about, if I am on prescription drugs and I drink one or two drinks, is that still dangerous or will I be okay?
Well, it really depends on what the prescription medication is. And so I would encourage people to talk to their doctors about this one because there are, again, I want to be realistic and balanced here. There are some medications that are perfectly safe to drink alcohol on, and then there are others that aren't. It really comes down to the specific medication. And so people should talk to their doctors.
What are the risks of fentanyl exposure through everyday life?
Yeah, let me debunk that because this is a thing you'll read about a lot in the news. This is one of those things that gets a lot of attention, but on further investigation, something else is going on. And so you cannot overdose just by touching fentanyl. Fentanyl has to go in through, again, sort of like your nasal passages or be swallowed. Or injected into the bloodstream in order for it to have an effect. Just touching something doesn't work. Fentanyl can't be absorbed through the skin. And so just sort of casually encountering fentanyl, touching fentanyl is not going to do anything at all. Some people even worry about fentanyl sort of like clouds of dust. You know, if you were to walk into a room where, I don't know, there was some dust around and somehow that dust got agitated. Even then, it would take an enormous amount of that dust to actually cause an overdose. You really need to be delivering fentanyl directly into the nose, into the lungs, into the bloodstream in large, relatively large quantities, meaning like a full tablet's worth to be causing an overdose. A casual sort of interaction is not going to do it.